The pristine halls of the Stellar Alliance vessel, Horizon's Dawn, echoed with footsteps as Commander Reyna Morrison made her way to the bridge. Her dark skin contrasted sharply with the silver white of her uniform, and her close-cropped hair bore the distinctive undercut that marked her as part of the Earth Defense Force. The past week had been a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings and tactical discussions as humanity integrated into the larger galactic community. "Commander on deck," Lieutenant Walsh called out as Reyna entered the bridge. The crew snapped to attention, a mix of humans and aliens working side by side. Among them stood Thexler, the Centaurian representative assigned to observe human military protocols. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the light, fracturing it into rainbow patterns across the bridge. At ease, Reyna commanded, moving to her station. She could feel Thexler's four eyes tracking her movements, analyzing every gesture. The Centaurians had made their opinions clear during the Alliance negotiations. They considered humans to be fragile, primitive, and barely worthy of notice. Their participation in joint operations was merely a formality. The ship's sensors blared to life, cutting through the tension. Multiple signatures detected in the Proxima sector, reported Ensign Rodriguez, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. Energy patterns matched the Void Hunters. Reyna's jaw tightened. The Void Hunters were notorious raiders who struck without warning, leaving devastation in their wake. Battle stations. Lieutenant Walsh, coordinate with the Centaurian vessel. Thexler, I trust you'll want to observe our response protocols. The Centaurian's crystalline face shifted in what passed for a dismissive expression. Indeed, though perhaps it would be wise to allow our ships to handle this threat. Your vessels seem inadequately protected. Before Reyna could respond, the first impact rocked the ship. The Void Hunters had brought something new. Phase-shifted weapons that bypassed standard shields. Emergency lights flooded the bridge as damage reports began streaming in. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Rodriguez called out. "Our shields aren't." Another hit interrupted her, sending cascading failures through the ship's systems. Reyna made a split-second decision. All hands, abandon ship. Emergency protocols Alpha 7. Lieutenant Walsh, ensure civilian personnel reach the escape pods. She turned to Thexler, whose crystalline form had taken on a worried hue. Your ship can handle atmospheric extraction. Of course, he replied, his tone carrying a hint of superiority even now. Though I'm surprised you'd trust alien vessels with your crew's safety. Trust goes both ways. Reyna shot back, racing toward the engineering section. We need to stabilize the core, or this ship will take half the sector with it when it goes. To her surprise, Thexler followed. Your engineering team has already evacuated. You cannot possibly hope to contain a core breach alone. Watch me. The engineering bay was chaos. Plasma vents had ruptured, filling the air with radioactive particles that would have killed most species instantly. Reyna's enhanced biology, standard for Deep Space Command, gave her minutes at best. Working quickly, she began the emergency shutdown sequence, her fingers flying across controls while Thexler watched in growing alarm. Commander, these radiation levels. No organic being can survive this. Then it's a good thing humans are full of surprises, Reyna grunted, fighting through the burning in her lungs. The core's warning sirens grew more intense as she rerouted power through secondary systems. Thexler's crystalline form vibrated with concern. Your cellular structure is already breaking down. You must evacuate. Almost. There. Reyna pushed through the pain, her vision blurring. With a final sequence of commands, the core began powering down. Emergency containment fields flickered to life, containing the worst of the radiation. She stumbled, her legs giving out. Thexler caught her, his usually cold exterior now radiating genuine concern. Foolish human, you've killed yourself. Reyna managed a weak smile. Give it a minute. To Thexler's astonishment, the severe radiation burns already marking Reyna's exposed skin began to fade. Human medical nanites, combined with their natural healing abilities, worked to repair the damage. It wasn't pretty. She'd be in significant pain for days, but she would survive. Impossible, Fexler whispered, his crystalline form shifting colors rapidly in shock. The radiation levels. Like I said, Reyna pushed herself to her feet, though she had to lean against a console for support. Humans are full of surprises. Now shall we go deal with those void hunters? As they made their way to the evacuation point, Fexler's perception of humanity began to shift. Perhaps these beings weren't as fragile as the Centaurians had assumed. Perhaps they had much more to learn about their new allies. The medical bay aboard the Centaurian vessel Crystal Sentinel hummed with activity as various scanning devices analyzed Commander Reyna Morrison's vital signs. Her dark skin had mostly healed from the radiation exposure, though occasional patches still showed signs of regeneration. Fexler stood nearby, his crystalline form shifting through shades of blue and green as he observed the process with growing fascination. "Remarkable," muttered Dr. Vexna, the ship's chief medical officer. Her translucent appendages moved gracefully over the holographic displays. "Your cellular regeneration rate exceeds anything we've documented in carbon-based life forms. The radiation damage should have been permanent." Reyna sat up on the examination table, rolling her shoulders to work out the lingering stiffness. Human medical technology combined with our natural healing abilities. We evolved on a planet with relatively high background radiation. Had to adapt or die. "But the speed of recovery," Fexler interjected, moving closer to study the medical readouts. "Even with your technological assistance, the rate of cellular repair defies our understanding of biological limits." A small smile played across Reyna's lips. "Maybe your understanding needs updating." Before anyone could respond, the ship's emergency alerts activated. Holographic displays materialized throughout the medical bay, showing tactical data from the ongoing battle with the Void Hunters. The raiders had regrouped and were launching a second attack. "Commander," Fexler's voice carried an unfamiliar note of respect, "our tactical systems have identified their flagship. The weapon signatures match those that breached your ship's shields." Reyna was already moving, ignoring Dr. Vexna's protests about incomplete medical observations. "Send the data to my neural interface. I need to coordinate with what's left of my crew." "I will accompany you," Fexler declared, his crystalline form shifting to combat configuration. When Reyna raised an eyebrow, he added, "Your resilience has proven valuable. It would be inefficient not to combine our capabilities." The Centaurian Command Center was a marvel of crystalline technology, with holographic interfaces that responded to thought patterns. Reyna's remaining crew had been distributed among the Alliance vessels, coordinating a counterattack against the Void Hunters. "Their phase-shifted weapons have a weakness," Reyna explained, manipulating the tactical display. "The energy signature fluctuates just before firing. A precisely timed countermeasure could destabilize the entire system." Fexler studied the data, his form pulsing with realization. But the timing would require impossible precision. The calculations alone. "Good thing humans are really good at impossible." Reyna grinned, already inputting commands. "Lieutenant Walsh, coordinate with the Centaurian gunners. Time your shots exactly as transmitted." What followed was a display of coordination that left the Centaurian crew in stunned silence. Human intuition combined with Centaurian precision as volleys of fire struck the Void Hunter ships at exactly the right moments. The raiders' advanced weapons backfired spectacularly, creating cascade failures throughout their fleet. "Impossible," whispered one of the Centaurian officers, watching as the Void Hunter's flagship began to break apart. "You keep using that word," Reyna commented, still focused on the tactical display. "I don't think it means what you think it means." The battle's aftermath brought more surprises for the Centaurians. As they examined the captured Void Hunter technology, they found themselves repeatedly turning to human insights. Where Centaurian logic hit walls, human intuition found paths forward. Later, in the ship's observation dome, Fexler found Reyna studying the stars. His crystalline form had taken on a new pattern, one that reflected deep thought and reassessment. "Our scientists have been analyzing your medical data," he said, moving to stand beside her. "They believe understanding human regenerative capabilities could revolutionize our approach to healing." "And what do you believe?" Reyna asked, turning to face him. Vexler's form shifted through several colors before settling on a deep, respectful blue. "I believe we have greatly underestimated your species. Your physical resilience is remarkable, but it's your adaptive capabilities that truly set you apart. You don't just survive. You thrive on challenges that should break you. That's humanity in a nutshell." Reyna smiled. "We bend, we break, we heal, we learn. It's not about being invulnerable. It's about getting back up every time we fall. A strength we fail to recognize," Vexler acknowledged. "The Centaurian Council will need to revise their assessment of human potential. Perhaps there is much we could learn from each other." The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of the vast unknown they faced together. Reyna's healing had shown the Centaurians a new kind of strength, not the unyielding hardness of crystal, but the persistent resilience of life that refuses to be broken. Deep within the Crystal Sentinel's research sector, Vexler watched in fascination as Commander Reyna Morrison sparred with combat drones. The training room's gravity fluctuated randomly, yet she adapted instantly to each change, her movements fluid and unpredictable. Several Centaurian scientists monitored the session, their crystalline forms flickering with excitement at each new data point. "Remarkable adaptation rate," one researcher noted, tracking Reyna's neural patterns. "Her brain recalibrates to new conditions 47% faster than our previous studies suggested possible." Reyna disabled the last drone with a well-placed strike, landing gracefully as the gravity normalized. "You should see me when I'm actually trying," she grinned, wiping sweat from her brow. The peaceful moment shattered as emergency alerts blared throughout the ship. "Commander Morrison, observer Vexler to the bridge immediately." The announcement echoed. "Priority 1 alert." They arrived to find the bridge in controlled chaos. The main display showed a massive anomaly spreading across the Proxima sector, consuming everything in its path. Ships, stations, even small moons disappeared into its swirling darkness. The Void Hunters, Vexler's form darkened with realization. Their weapons weren't just phase-shifted, they were trying to pierce the dimensional barrier. And they succeeded, Reyna finished, studying the tactical readouts. "That's a tear in space-time, and it's growing exponentially." She turned to the Centaurian bridge crew. "How long until it reaches the nearest populated system?" 48 hours at current expansion rates, responded the science officer. "Our models suggest conventional weapons will be useless against it." Reyna's eyes narrowed as she processed the information. "What about unconventional weapons?" The Void Hunter's tech was based on Centaurian crystalline science, wasn't it? Vexler moved closer to the display, his form pulsing with interest. "Yes, but corrupted, twisted to break natural laws rather than work with them." "Are you suggesting a resonance cascade?" Reyna nodded. "Your crystals can channel and amplify energy. If we could match the tear's frequency but invert it." "Impossible," one of the Centaurian officers interrupted. "The calculations would take weeks, and the power requirements. Unless," Vexler's form brightened suddenly, "we combine our approaches, Centaurian precision with human adaptability." He turned to Reyna. "Your neural patterns during the training session, they showed unique wave formations we've never seen before." Understanding dawned in Reyna's eyes. "You want to use my brain as a quantum processor. Hook me directly into your crystalline matrix." "It's never been attempted," Vexler admitted. "The energy surge could overwhelm your neural pathways. Even with your healing ability, the risk is better than watching whole systems die." Reyna finished. She turned to the bridge crew. "How long to modify the ship's crystal core for neural integration?" The next 12 hours were a blur of preparation and calculation. The Crystal Sentinel's engineering bay had been transformed into a hybrid of Centaurian technology and human medical equipment. Reyna lay on a crystalline platform, surrounded by pulsing energy conduits. The interface will attempt to match your neural frequency, Dr. Vexna explained, attaching monitoring devices. Your mind will become part of the ship's crystalline matrix. No human has ever experienced this level of integration. Then I'll be setting a lot of records today, Reyna replied, trying to mask her nervousness. She caught Thexler's gaze. Keep an eye on things out here, partner. I might be a little distracted. Thexler's form shifted to a warm, reassuring pattern. Your resilience continues to astound us, Commander. We will not fail you. The activation sequence began. Reyna's world dissolved into pure crystalline energy as her consciousness expanded through the ship's systems. The pain was extraordinary, but she pushed through it, feeling her mind adapt and grow. Through the crystal matrix, she could sense the dimensional tear, understand its chaotic patterns in ways pure mathematics never could. Remarkable. She heard Dr. Vexna's distant voice. Her neural patterns are synchronizing with the crystal frequency. She's actually doing it. The ship's crystal core pulsed with combined power. Centaurian technology guided by human intuition. Reyna could feel her body trying to heal even as the energy surge threatened to overwhelm her nervous system. But in that moment of perfect synthesis between human and alien technology, she found what they needed. Pattern matched, she managed to say through gritted teeth, initiating resonance cascade. The Crystal Sentinel's main crystal array fired, sending a precisely calibrated beam into the heart of the dimensional tear. The void writhed and twisted, fighting against the invasion of ordered energy. For a moment that seemed to stretch forever, the outcome hung in balance. Then the tear began to collapse, its chaotic energy turning inward, consuming itself rather than the surrounding space. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the anomaly shrank and finally winked out of existence. In the engineering bay, Reyna's consciousness slowly returned to her body. Every nerve ending screamed in protest, but her healing ability was already at work, repairing the damage. She opened her eyes to find Thexler and Dr. Vexna hovering over her, their forms showing clear concern. "Did we get it?" she asked weakly. "The tear has been completely neutralized," Thexler confirmed, his form glowing with pride and relief. "You have once again demonstrated why we were wrong about humans, Commander. Your ability to adapt, to push beyond normal limits, it's not just about physical healing. It's about growing stronger through challenges that should destroy you." Reyna managed a small smile despite the pain. "That's the thing about humans, Thexler. We don't know how to stay within our limits. Sometimes that gets us into trouble. And sometimes," he finished, "it saves us all." The aftermath of the dimensional tear left more questions than answers. In the Crystal Sentinel's tactical room, holographic displays showed disturbing patterns of void energy spreading throughout the sector. Commander Reyna Morrison studied the data, her recently healed body still occasionally trembling from the neural interface experience. "They're following a pattern," she muttered, tracing lines between incident points. The Void Hunters weren't just raiders. They were testing boundaries, looking for weak points in space-time. Thexler moved beside her, his crystalline form resonating with the ship's sensors. "Our long-range scans have detected similar energy signatures in multiple sectors. Someone is coordinating these attacks." "Or something," Reyna replied, pulling up additional data. "Look at these quantum signatures. They're not random. They're evolving, learning from each failure." The tactical room's door slid open as Dr. Vexna entered, carrying new sensor readings. "Commander, the analysis of your neural patterns during the interface is concerning. The crystal matrix recorded something else present during the connection, something that noticed you." A chill ran down Reyna's spine as she remembered the strange sensations during the interface, the feeling of being watched by something vast and alien. The tear wasn't just a weapon, was it? It was a door. And now whatever's on the other side knows we can shut it. Incoming transmission. the ship's AI announced. Multiple sources. Priority 1. The holographic displays filled with distress signals from across the sector. Tiers were opening simultaneously at dozens of locations, each larger and more stable than the last. But these were different. They had purpose, precision. They're not random attacks anymore, Thexler observed, his form darkening with concern. They're looking for you, Commander. Your ability to interface with our technology made you a threat. Reyna straightened, ignoring the lingering pain from her last neural integration. Then let's give them what they're looking for. We need to understand what we're fighting. She turned to Dr. Vexna. How soon can we attempt another interface? The medical officer's form flickered with alarm. Commander, your neural pathways are still healing. Another integration could cause permanent damage, even with your regenerative abilities. Better than watching whole worlds die, Reyna countered. But this time, we do it differently. Thexler, your crystalline form can act as a buffer, can't it? A bridge between my consciousness and the ship's matrix. Thexler's surface rippled with surprise. It's theoretically possible, but the risks. The energy transfer could shatter my form completely. Or it could create something new. Reyna met his gaze steadily. You've seen what happens when we combine our strengths. Will you trust me? The engineering bay had been modified based on their previous experience. Crystalline conductors wrapped around both Reyna and Thexler, creating a complex web of energy pathways. Dr. Vexna monitored their vital signs with obvious concern. Remember, she instructed, at the first sign of critical degradation in either of you, we terminate the connection. Reyna reached out, placing her hand against Thexler's crystalline surface. Ready, partner? His form pulsed with warmth. Together, Commander. The integration began more smoothly this time. Thexler's crystalline consciousness helping to buffer the raw energy of the ship's matrix. Through their combined awareness, they could sense the dimensional tiers with unprecedented clarity. But something else waited behind them, a vast, cold intelligence that had been watching, learning, adapting. It's a collective. Reyna's voice echoed strangely through the crystal matrix. The Void Hunters were just tools. This entity, it consumes dimensions, absorbs knowledge, grows stronger with each breach. And now it wants humanity's adaptive capabilities. Thexler added, his consciousness intertwined with hers. Your ability to survive, to grow stronger through adversity. It sees you as the key to perfect adaptation. Through their shared perception, they watched as the tiers began to align, forming a pattern that stretched across multiple star systems. The entity was no longer hiding its intentions. It was coming for them all. We need to warn the fleet, Reyna started, but new information flooded their shared consciousness. Through their connection, they could see possibilities branching out like crystal formations, potential futures where different choices led to different outcomes. Wait. Thexler's thoughts merged with hers. Look at how it moves, how it thinks. It's not just adapting. It's afraid. Your consciousness in the crystal matrix showed it something it never expected. Reyna focused their shared awareness, understanding dawning. The ability to change without losing yourself, to grow stronger without consuming others. We're not just fighting this thing. We're showing it another way, Thexler finished. Their combined consciousness reached out through the crystal matrix, not to attack the entity, but to communicate, to demonstrate the power of willing cooperation between different species. The entity recoiled at first, then probed cautiously at their shared consciousness. Through the crystal matrix, they could feel its surprise, its curiosity. The tiers in space-time flickered as the entity processed this new paradigm. Dr. Vexna's voice cut through their shared awareness. Commander, observer, your neural patterns are reaching critical levels. You need to disengage. But they couldn't, not yet. They had to show the entity one more thing. The moment when Reyna had risked everything to save the Crystal Sentinel, when Thexler had first recognized the true strength of humanity, not conquest or consumption, but growth through cooperation, through willing sacrifice and mutual trust. The entity's response rippled through spacetime itself. The tiers began to change, their chaotic energy transforming into something new, something neither wholly void nor wholly normal space, a bridge, not a weapon. The Crystal Sentinel's bridge hummed with tense energy as Reyna and Thexler emerged from their shared consciousness. Their unprecedented connection had changed them both. Reyna's neural patterns now carried traces of crystalline resonance, while Thexler's form displayed subtle patterns that mimicked human brainwaves. "The entity is waiting," Reyna announced, steadying herself against a console. Her body was already healing from the interface strain, but this time the changes went deeper. "It wants to understand more about our cooperation." Multiple vessels approaching, Lieutenant Walsh reported from his station. Void Hunter ships, but different. Their energy signatures are stabilizing. The main viewport filled with an extraordinary sight. The Void Hunter's ships had transformed, their hulls now a hybrid of normal matter and crystalline void energy. They moved with purpose but without aggression, forming a perfect geometric pattern around the Crystal Sentinel. "They're offering an exchange," Thexler explained, his form shifting with new understanding. "The entity wants to share what it has learned through consumption, in return for experiencing willing cooperation." Dr. Vexna rushed onto the bridge, her sensors already analyzing both Reyna and Thexler. "The neural changes in both of you are unprecedented. You've created something entirely new, a true bridge between species. More than that," Reyna smiled, touching her temple where crystalline patterns now faintly shimmered beneath her skin. "We've shown them that evolution doesn't have to come through conquest. Growth can come from choice, from trust." The void entity's presence touched their minds again, gentler now, curious rather than invasive. Through their lingering connection, Reyna and Thexler could sense its ancient loneliness, its desperate consumption of other dimensions in search of understanding. "It's been alone," Thexler realized, his form resonating with empathy, consuming knowledge but never truly learning, adapting but never growing. The transformed Void Hunter ships began transmitting data, centuries of accumulated knowledge from countless dimensions. But now it was offered freely, not taken by force. The Crystal Sentinel's databases filled with information that could advance both human and Centaurian civilization by decades. The Centaurian Council will need to revise more than just their assessment of humans, Thexler observed, watching as the data streamed in. "Our entire understanding of evolution and adaptation needs to change." "That's what humans do best," Reyna grinned, though her expression turned thoughtful. "We don't just adapt ourselves. We help others adapt too. Sometimes all it takes is showing another way is possible." Through their enhanced connection, they could feel the void entity beginning to change, its very nature transforming from a force of consumption to one of exchange. The tiers in spacetime stabilized into permanent bridges between dimensions, regulated by the hybrid Void Hunter ships. "Commander," Lieutenant Walsh called out, "we're receiving transmissions from across the sector. The entity is establishing similar connections with other species, learning different forms of cooperation from each one." "Evolution through diversity," Dr. Vexna mused, studying the readings. "Not seeking a perfect form, but perfect understanding." She turned to Reyna and Thexler. "Your connection has catalyzed something unprecedented in known space." The bridge crew watched in awe as new forms of matter and energy danced across their sensors, the void entity experimenting with creation rather than consumption. Each experiment was shaped by the principles it had learned from humanity's resilience and the Centaurians' structured growth. Reyna felt Thexler's consciousness brush against hers. Their connection had become permanent, a living example of what was possible when different species chose to grow together. "Think the Council will approve of these modifications?" she asked, gesturing to her crystalline enhanced neural patterns. Thexler's form shimmered with amusement. "They'll adapt. After all, we've learned from the best." His structure had become more fluid, more organic, while maintaining its crystalline strength. "Though I believe this is just the beginning." Through the viewport, space itself seemed to shimmer with new potential. The void entity's transformation had opened doorways not just between dimensions, but between different ways of being. Humanity's first major contribution to the galactic community hadn't been their technology or their military strength, but their fundamental nature. The ability to face the unknown with courage, to grow through adversity, and to share that growth with others. So, Reyna smiled, feeling the pulse of crystalline energy through her enhanced nervous system. Ready to explore some new dimensions, partner? Thexler's form brightened with anticipation. With you, Commander. Always. Though perhaps we should wait until Dr. Vexna clears you for interdimensional travel. The medical officer made a sound suspiciously like a human snort, as if either of you would listen. Your combined healing capabilities are rewriting our medical texts as we speak. The Crystal Sentinel moved gracefully through space, its hybrid crew no longer divided by species, but united by purpose. Behind them, the transformed Void Hunter ships took up escort positions, their very existence a testament to the power of change through cooperation. The Void entity's final message resonated through their enhanced consciousness. Through consumption, we learned facts. Through cooperation, we learn truth. Through humanity, we learn growth. Through unity, we evolve. Reyna and Thexler stood together on the bridge, their evolved forms a living bridge between species, between dimensions, between different ways of understanding reality itself. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what everyone needed.